Welcome to the Sendcast. My name is Dale Pickles. I am the host of the Sendcast and one of the directors here at B Squared. If you are a new listener, then welcome to the Sendcast. Everyone has found this podcast because you want to learn something about special educational needs and disability, and you want to do it in a way that fits in with your life. And the Sendcast is here to help. But if there is a topic we haven't covered, get in touch. In this episode, we're discussing the awesomely autistic Tigger Pritchard and his journey. Tigger is a neuroaffirming advocate, consultant, and trainer who is passionate about reducing anxiety for all. And when I say passionate, you should see all the volunteer work he does. The Sendcast is created and produced by us here at B Squared. We are the assessment people. We help to show the small steps of progress pupils with SEND make. We help schools to show progress for a wide range of abilities and ages. And if you're a primary school struggling to show progress or struggling to identify where a pupil isn't making progress, then we can help. But did you know you can use B Squared's assessment software for more than just pupils with SEND? You can now assess all pupils in one system, saving you time, saving you money, and simplifying the whole assessment process. Visit the B Squared website or click on the meeting link in the show notes to book a meeting with me to take you through our software. Let's get on with the podcast. On this week's show, we're discussing Tigger Pritchard and his awesomely autistic journey. My guest is Tigger Pritchard, obviously, because it's all about Tigger Pritchard, a neuroaffirming advocate, consultant, and trainer who is passionate about reducing anxiety for all. Tigger has over 36 years of personal and professional experience of working alongside, learning from, and advocating for neurodivergent individuals. And Tigger has been nominated for several awards, all for the work and volunteering he does around neurodiversity. Welcome to the show, Tigger.
Hello. That blurb bit frightens me because I'm thinking, oh my God, it's a lot to work up to. Now, we've got to tell the audience that we've met at the Autism Shows.
Yes.
We get on really well. We go off on multiple tangents. Right?
It's his first time on the podcast. He thinks going on tangents is a new thing.
Oh, right, yeah. Sorry. I'm just conscious of just it's going to be a journey, I think. But thank you for inviting me. Can we tell them the history?
Yeah, I did invite you maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, right. Well, you didn't you? And then I went to the Autism Show and I did that. Oh, I must go through all my emails and catch up. Hey, I'm autistic, right? I'd get lost, right? And I went, must contact that guy there. So I'd seen the email, put it in my red flagged it, walked past your awesome stall, saw your shirt and went, I know him. That's the guy I was supposed to ring. Yeah, that's what I was supposed to email. And then what was it you said? You showed me on your to-do list or something, didn't you?
The previous day, we'd had a conversation. Mia, who does a lot of the arranging of guests, went, yeah, you've basically organised these shows with these people and they never happened. You need to chase them up. And top of the list was Tigger. He's there in front of me going, yeah, I didn't get back to you. I'm sorry about that. And I'm going, it's a really strange coincidence.
That was, wasn't it?
And then we met at the next 3 Autism Shows and had lots of fun. So that was really good. And even went out for dinner.
We did. It was. I wish I stayed longer now. I was shattered at the time. Absolutely shattered.
So I've had a lot of different guests. Well, no, a few different guests on the show talking about their personal journeys. And they've all been mostly negative with that positivity coming in at the end. And then it's their desire to support others on their own journey and to let others know it'll be all right. And that's part of the reason they're on the podcast. You kind of go, look, I've been somewhere. I've been on a journey and I've kind of come out the other side and I'm doing all right. But when you're young and you don't understand yourself and no one else does either, it's really hard to believe that it will be all right, isn't it?
I paused there, haven't I? Because you remember, I was lost. I was alone. I was battered. I'd created a world for myself. It's mostly what people would call geek stuff now. So I surrounded myself with geek stuff. I find it really difficult to have friends if I got a friend who latched onto them, which was like a bit overbearing. And what I wanted to do, I wasn't into football. Yeah, I wasn't into, I know. So do you know what? One of the stories I got, tangent number 47. We went to see, I lived in Wolverhampton. We went to see Wolves play with some friends. And we're there, this is really good. I don't know how old it was, 17, 18 or something. And then they change at half time. And I went, what's going on? I said, I can't see the goalie anymore. And I remember one of my friends saying to me, shut up. Everybody's looking at you. They've realised it's your first time here at the age of like 18 or something. So just be quiet, will you? And I was like, but I didn't know they changed ends. So I wasn't your typical, I wasn't into cars. I don't drive. All the rest of it. What I did feel was I just, I my life was my passions, my science fiction, my astronomy, my TV shows, my geek stuff, my reading, my radio plays, all the rest of it. That was my world. And anything outside that world, I just felt totally and utterly alien. And I didn't know who I was. Simple as that. And as we said in the little preamble, that carried on for decades. But school life especially, I was extremely traumatic for me. And I didn't enjoy it. And my younger life, I think I look back now with that thing of older age, and I can see the cycles. I can see when I was forging an identity to see who I was. When I was copying people, off shows, I'll dress like this, I'll dress like that. All that I've known for decades now. And as you say, that first part of the journey, not knowing, I just thought it was different. People would just go, "Oh, he's weird, he's strange," all those terms, yeah. But that's 50 plus years ago, yeah. And it's devastating. It's that long ago. But it was the initial start was, yeah, not a nice start at all. Didn't like school. Just went from there, really.
That's interesting because you talk about the geek stuff. I'm literally going, yep, and all that stuff. And you're going, yeah, that's all me. But I was really isolated. That's the thing I remember when I listen to you talking about the radio plays, and I do that, and books and things like that. I'm going, I don't know, just for some reason that never interested me. So I never had those kind of external inputs on me. It was kind of what's in front of me. What do I find interesting? So yeah, tech, gaming, building PCs, that anything techie was really cool. But I never got into, I know lots of people like Douglas Adams and things like that. Loads of people got really into that, or they had their favorite author or things like that. And as you said, finding their identity. And I'm going, I don't think I knew that word identity until I was probably in my 20s. I don't know. So it wasn't I didn't know who that's a bit I'm still working out. Is everyone else seems to have this, who am I? What's my identity? And I'm like going, I didn't know I was a something, which is really weird for me to say, but I just didn't care about what I was. I just wanted to do what I was doing, which is really, which I don't come across many people. Everyone generally is, who am I? They're on that journey. And I'm going, I don't care who I am. I just want to do this.
That's a lovely place to be in to a certain extent, I think. I mean, the other thing we've got to, there's a difference between us in age, regrettably. You're slightly younger than I am. You've still got hair on your head. Do you know what I mean? And I think that, for my generation, it was, I went to see Star Wars at the pictures. That summer it came out. I am so glad I did that. I'm so glad I was that generation.
That's the thing is, I wish I was, because, 79 I was born. And it was like, that was the era of stuff like sci-fi, because you had the Star Wars, you had the Alien. So much cool, groundbreaking stuff was happening, and I missed it all.
But so I look now and look at people who are, it's almost, now it's okay to be a Marvel fan or a DC fan or Witcher or Warhammer or whatever. In my days, you were battered for being that different. You were excluded. But those are the things I was drawn to because I felt safe in those environments. I hated school. Do you know what I used to? I look back now and I go, do you know what I found? I might put them online at some point. I found my old school reports several months ago, just in a box, and I read, no, this is really harsh. Because I read them and I just started to cry because all you saw was a guy that didn't get school, didn't like school. One of them said, obviously intelligent but can't be bothered, distracted all the time, can't focus. And
okay, if you put yours up, I'll put mine up.
Right.
Because mine are the exact same as you.
Really?
And basically, I had to get mine out as part of my ADHD and autism diagnosis. And I didn't, basically, no one from my childhood. I don't have any friends from my childhood for some reason. Who knew? And my family don't remember much at all, didn't care, whatever. So the only thing I had for my reference from my childhood are the reports. So I had to find the reports, dig them out, read through them, and basically exactly what you said. But also, it was all my fault. You should read it. It was everything was my fault.
Yeah. Sometimes people go, what degree have you got? Because I was a manager at a college and things like this. What degree have you got? I used to run an area. What degree have you got? So on and so forth. And I've got nothing. I've got one O-level I got when I was 18. I'm a Mac tutor. That's about it. That's it. No A-levels, no degree, nothing. I've just been at the right place at the right time, I guess, with that level of experience and insight. But I hated school. And it left. I was on a tangent. I used to try and, I was born prematurely. So I was born 2 months premature and weighed like a bag of sugar. So I had a lot of chest problems when I was a youngster. I had a lot of time in school with that. But when I did have to go to school, I used to make concoctions of liquids. This is a true story, and drink them in order to make myself sick. Because I had a canny mother. She was cool, yeah. She was awesome. And so I used to make concoctions. I can drink anything virtually. And I just try and make myself sick. And I couldn't, I didn't want to go to school because I couldn't stand school. And now I look back in it and I realise the feeling out of place, the overwhelm, the being battered because my brain works differently and so on. Everything's there. But at the time when you don't know, I just lived in, I think it was constant fear of the school days, of not wanting to go. So I couldn't, it was just, ugh.
But that's the thing. I'm listening to you talking about it all, and perhaps kind of like it's that you are being you and trying to have that identity and have it beaten out of you. Whereas perhaps that's the reason I didn't, because I kind of went, if I stay hidden, if I don't have an identity, I'll be left alone. If I don't be anything, if I just disappear, I will be left alone. But that bit you said about I was in the right place at the right time, you said I'm always in the right. You might have been once. Yeah, but you then open your own doors.
Yeah,
that's the sort of thing. I know some people say, "Oh," and that's the sort of thing. Some people, family, have said that I haven't worked for stuff. It's like, no. You get an opportunity. Moment that door's open, you're the person who walks through it, and you're the person who makes what happens after that possible. And if that opens other doors, that's all on you. First door might have been lucky. After that, everything is on you.
I am lucky that some good doors are open then. I've been extremely lucky with my careers. I've learnt a lot. And again, the thing, I've been surrounded by great people on the whole, great people that have pointed me in a certain direction. I've learnt and I've grown. But, I now have the luxury and the privilege of working for myself, and have done for, 11 years now, I think. And it is luxury and it is privilege. Highs and lows, but I'm really lucky to be able to sit here in my Autie den. Shed, it's an Autie den, and be able to work from here and so on. Yeah, but it's just that journey, as you say. I did go back. I think I moved from Wolverhampton to Cornwall in the late 80s, and in the early 90s, I think I went back to look at my old school. Actually, it's gone now. It's been knocked down and rebuilt, and all the rest of it. It was an old school, but I actually walked through the school and said hi to a few teachers that were there, and said, I'm down in Cornwall. I was then at that point working in residential provision for young adults who were autistic. Complex were awesome. And that's where I learned a lot. And I just went back because the other thing I think happens with possibly that journey on autistic identity is that, hey, I changed my name legally. Yeah, we kind of reinvent as we go on the journey, I think, to a certain extent, or we discover who we are. And the person that went back to school in the 90s was not the person that was there when I attended school. I'd lost a lot of weight. I was a lot thinner. I was really into fitness stuff then. Wow, I was cycling, running, climbing, everything. And I think part of me went back just to say, hey, I'm not that guy that was here before. I feel so much better than that guy that was here before because I'm not here. But I still felt drawn to go back, which I find fascinating. Whenever I do go back to Wolverhampton, I like to, with a friend, because I can't drive, do a little drive-by. Highfield School where I used to go and just have a quick look, and because there, it was where I spent my childhood to a certain extent. But to be honest, it was a difficult time. But to learn from that is now something I look back and I can see why, but I didn't see why until my 50s.
Was it a case of? I'm guessing this is the secondary school you went to. So was your primary school time happier? Can you remember?
Cannot remember. The other thing I have is I have what I call a Swiss cheese brain. So I have pockets, for whatever reasons, where I have no memories, where I cannot remember stuff. So people have said to me, "Oh, do you remember so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so?" Well, I was at a party once, and somebody introduced me to somebody, and we sat down, we spent like 20 minutes talking, and then went away, and my friend went, "God, remember those days on shift? It was really cool." And I went, "What was that?" I went, "We worked together." And he went, "Yeah." And I went, "I can't remember that." For about 3 months, I said, "I don't remember that at all. I just don't remember the guy." And it was like, I felt kind of like, whoa, and that selective kind of memory thing. So my infant school and junior, I cannot remember at all. I can remember, the only memory I've got is of it being a Christmas. It must have been after Christmas. There was a party and we went to go in fancy dress. And I went as a spaceman because my parents had got me space. I was a geek, right? Loved space, science fiction, all the rest of it, astronomy, cosmology, you go on. And I had a space outfit and had a plastic helmet with a green visor on. And I remember going to school for fancy dress and I tripped and broke the green visor and then couldn't go to school. I just screamed and hollered and missed the fancy dress party and everything because I'd broken my spaceman's helmet and I couldn't go. And that was it. I couldn't go. And that's the only memory I've got, I think, from junior school.
I have this magic memory which is just phenomenal, and I can remember being pushed in the pushchair, not because I was 10, but I'm literally talking about 2 years old.
Yeah.
I can remember being in the pushchair. I have memories of I don't remember everything, but there are things happen. If something happens, I can remember it. I can remember birthday party. It is just phenomenal, my memory. It's not always nice to remember these things. And sometimes things, you forget things and they come back.
Yeah.
But I just have this amazing memory. And I can remember all the holidays, every holiday, more or less, back to, I don't know, 4 years old. And I think, when did we go there? And they look at me going, "You remember that?" And I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "You were 3.
What's interesting?
And I was like, "The cow shed," and the cow got hurt. And they're going, and my sister looking, "You were like 3, and you remember that."
Well, do you know what's interesting is when you were saying that, I'm going there going, I remember my holidays. I remember going to Jersey. I remember going to the Isle of Wight. I remember going to Blackpool. I remember the Stick of Rock and the gyroscope and all the rest of it. But I don't remember school. Isn't that fascinating?
It is.
That's just something I haven't. I'm going to have to explore that after this. That's something I haven't. That's fascinating.
A number of years ago, when my kids were young, my parents took the whole family, except my sisters. We took us all down to the Helford River.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
lovely.
Picked these cottages, and we drove down there. And I got there, and I'm reliving about 5 or 6 family holidays where most of them were. My parents would say we're all sailing, so we'd get a boat from Falmouth, and the first stop was the Helford River. It was a short sail. We'd put the tender up, go ashore, get an ice cream from the little post office type thing. Lovely. And then we'd explore the river ever. But we did that every year. That was it. And then 2 years we rented like an apartment on the river. So there's some apartments on the North Shore, rented an apartment, rented a holiday cottage, took the boats down, went sailing, learned to windsurf on the river. We're talking, we spent a lot of time on this river.
Yeah.
And we go back there, and I'm literally looking at I'm kind of rewatching the memories, just loving it. My sister's like, "Why have we come here? We used to come in. I've never been here in my life." I'm like, "Yeah, we have." "No, we haven't." I said, "That there, we stayed there for 2 weeks. You learned to windsurf here." "Nope, never been. No memory of it." And it was a good holiday.
It's interesting because, we can down the route of what is memory, how we can recreate it, how one person's memories will be really different from somebody else's, and they're in the same place at the same time. And then you begin to think, what is memory? And what I remember, and what I'm remembering, is it true to that event? And I guess as an autistic person, I often remember sensations more than events. So I remember the gyroscope sitting on my finger. I remember the candy floss. I remember the toffee apple. I remember the lights and sounds and smells of. We used to go to Blackpool once a year. We go to Blackpool. Yeah, we would. A Welsh thing to do, I think. I know. I remember that, and sometimes I remember that. That's the stuff I remember possibly as my sensory input. Yeah, that kind of stuff more than other things. I remember being sunburned. I remember the metal wing of an aeroplane we saw. Just in the middle of like outside this thing. I don't know. Isle of Wight or something. Those are things I can remember. The sun shining on the plane and it being absolutely boiling hot to touch. Those are things I remember. Other things I don't. So I think those are the things that I look back now and I think that's the sensory part of who I am. Responding to that, to taste and smell, certainly. And I had a green. Oh, well, I went through that phase because there's just a few years between us. People wouldn't believe there is, but there is, yeah. I went for the bit where it was jeans and army jumper with the shoulder pads and the elbow pads, green thing.
Yeah.
15, 16. And I had a camouflaged army little hat I used to put on. And I can still remember the smell of that and the feel of it and the pressure it used to put on around my head. And I loved that hat. And I remember somebody giving a whistle, girls on the beach or something like that, and me thinking, my hat's really cool. Yeah, it must have been wasn't. Yeah, but it was like, my hat's really cool. And I remember that. I remember things like that, but other things have just.
Do you remember the mid 90s fashion of the olive green shirts with the West German flag on, or East German?
Yeah. But I remember it before that. I remember it in the 80s.
That's
so I remember the bags, the shirts, that kind of bags. Yeah. So I had a Hessian type bag with that on when I was like working at Wolverhampton in the mid early 80s. Yeah.
He's getting the Army surplus shop type thing.
Oh God, yeah. And it's interesting because I look back now at that memory bit, and I think a lot of it is based around my senses, based around a sensory input rather than an event. Rather than something happening, it is. I remember the hat. I remember I remember spinning the gyroscope on my finger and that little dent it makes, and loving it. Yeah, I got a gyroscope from one of those toy shops on Blackpool. Yeah, and absolutely loving it. I can remember buying. I was that kind of geek. I remember in Blackpool saving up my money to buy the theme music from Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I know. I would have been. Oh man, I would have been. I don't know, 16, 17. And sitting in the back of the car and smelling it and feeling the inner sleeve to the vinyl and rubbing my hand across it, and in the black car in late evening coming back from Blackpool to Wolverhampton. So there's a lot of sensory stuff I remember, and yet other things are completely devoid, yeah? And it may well be that part of it is the trauma base of it. I just don't want to remember what it was like to be, that individual who just felt totally and utterly different. And that I'm kind of blocked, but the sensory stuff puts you through because I'm autistic.
That's the weird thing is my sensory, I'm literally none of that. You're literally talking you're talking a foreign language to me there. I'm literally going, I've got no idea what you're on about. Yet, if you stick a piece of music on,
yeah,
I am back. I am back somewhere. If you stick Boxcar Willie on,
yeah.
If you put on Roger Whittaker, if you put on certain music, I'm in the back of the car,
yeah,
going on holiday, and I'm 6 years old.
Yeah.
You put on certain dance music from the 90s, I'm back in RE with a headphone in. I'm in the local club, but you're literally any track, and it would take me to somewhere in my life. And my mum was literally kind of can just sit there and watch that memory, be part of it and feel it again. And I love that. And I wish kind of with other senses I could do that, but that's my auditory thing is I can be somewhere and I can close my eyes and I'm 20 years old, I'm 15 years old, I'm 10 years old, I'm 7 years old or something somewhere.
Well, in our 5-hour pre-chat before we pressed record, which is true, it's true. Out there, it's true. We talked Freddie, we better press record, yeah. We were talking about our turntables, our hi-fi, our speakers, all the rest of it. And for both of us, music, like you, music is so. I look at ways to reduce anxiety as an autistic person. I look at what I call neurokits, spoons, whatever word you want to use. But for me, music and certain tracks are definite ways of getting, reducing my anxiety. And certain tracks. And again, if I have to focus here on a piece of work, I will often play an album on repeat, loud, hence the soundproofing. And I'll just play it on repeat. For example, because I'm a kid of the 80s, actually, my daughter, who's awesome, once said to me, "Why do you keep saying you're a kid of the 80s? You're not. You're a kid of the 70s. Because that's when you were a kid." And I went, no, I'm a kid of the 80s. And she went, "No, you're a kid because she's really spot on." And I suddenly realised she was right and I was wrong. I'm still going to keep saying it. So it was an 80s album anyway. Oh, God, no, it's supposed to be 1970s. It was War of the Worlds. And the other week I had a really intensive piece of work to do. And I spent the whole day on repeat the War of the Worlds album. And it just helped me. And I'm singing and I'm moving, but I'm concentrating and I'm flowing and I'm working. And I know that works for me. Do you know what? It was is it How to ADHD? I've got her name, Jenny, American lady. She had these. I was just looking for some research years ago, and she said using a tool to focus for attention. And I went, oh, and that's where I got it from. And I do that a lot. I just boom, put it on, music plays, and I can concentrate. Otherwise, I am done for.
I need generally something rhythmic. So at the moment, I listen to like piano-y chill stuff, and it's really nice and stuff. But it's got that constant rhythm. I can listen to lots of Hans Zimmer, quite dynamic.
Stop! Right, tangent. We did vinyl. So we knew we'd do this. I am so close to getting the box set on vinyl, the one that's like £60. I looked at a certain company's special day this week, and I know that it gets reduced a bit more Christmas, but I'm looking at it secondhand as well. I want that box set of vinyl, Hans Zimmer Live, so badly, because some of that music to me is absolutely, well, it's better than some of the films. The films are great. It is something I am so drawn towards at the moment. Look at my level of excitement. I apologise. I'm on a tropic flow. I'm off, right? It is so gorgeous, that music. Sorry.
Have you ever been to see him live?
You haven't. You haven't, have you?
Twice.
Right. No.
It is the best thing. I mean, the first time we saw him, he wasn't there. There's a video would come up and he goes, "Can't be there tonight," blah, blah, blah. But there was a little video and it was him introducing, so he'll be Ron Howard talking about the music on Apollo 13, talking about this. And then we had the woman from Gladiator came out with his band singing Gladiator. It was just the most amazing. And then at the end, I literally had, these are the songs I want to hear. These are the ones. I want to hear these. And it was going to be Time from Inception, which is just the best. And he apologized for being there. He couldn't be there. But he starts playing the piano in the video.
Yeah.
And he's playing it all. And it's like, this is cool. And it's building up. And then a minute or two later, he then just walks out on stage, cool as a cucumber, playing the bass guitar.
No.
And the arena just erupted. It was like you could have been out here the whole night, but you waited till this. It was so good. It's just, if you have never seen Hans Zimmer live, go do it. Everyone.
A dear friend of mine from Wolverhampton who has, I think, and it's one of the things I might go and do with him. I actually sent him the CD for Christmas because he got me to. He showed me. I've never seen live stuff, and I was like, "Oh, this is incredible." But that track, Inception, right? Me, physics, really good. The first really proper generated image of a black hole. Yep, loved it. All the rest of it. But that track for me on repeats is a go-to moment of safety for my autistic self. So that track, if I'm highly anxious, it's a go-to track on my phone. It's on my iPod. It's a track I will put headphones on, whether I'm away from home or here or whatever. To me, that's one of my I'm not well. Go there and listen to that piece of music. So for me, it's an extremely emotional, beautiful, calming, relaxing. It's a very important piece of music in my life because I can be dysregulated. I can be really anxious. And it's one of my main, as I say, NeuroKids spoons. Some people may know them as well. Go to because it really brings me down. So it's one of my, oh my God, I'm in trouble. Put that on as a survival mode thing, and it really reduces my anxiety. It's to me, it's one of the most beautiful pieces of music I've ever heard, and I adore it. I adore the film as well.
I just think that when people go like they've got their favorite jumper, they've had a bad day, they put their favorite hoodie on or whatever and get into whatever.
Yeah,
I don't have that. But I do have that with music. So there are certain, you said that track, London Grammar's first album, absolutely amazing. I can go back into my youth and listen to tracks, and they take me to maybe when I was 16, 17, cruising around in cars. It just really just properly settles me.
It's interesting because on my journey, understanding that I'm autistic, I now have an array of I call them NeuroKids spoons, whichever term you want to use. I call them NeuroKids. I'm a bit layer by NeuroKids. I mean, right next to my desk here, there's sensory tools, Blue Tack, Albus Oil. I have a kit I take away with me when I go, like the noise reduction headphones and my iPods and all the rest of it, so on and so forth. I have learned. I look back at my life now and I think I was drawn to that. I was drawn to that. And what I was doing was self-regulating. And that I've looked back a lot at. And I've realised, I remember when I did come to Cornwall, I got into wild camping an awful lot. So once or twice a year, I'd have to go to North Wales, round the back of Snowdon, usually in January or February, on my own. I'd walk around the back, camp for 3 or 4 days at the lake, walk to and from the youth hostel with maybe soft crampons on, flexible crampons. It'd be covered in ice. The youth hostel might just be open, or Lambedes might be. I get loads of chocolate, loads of food, and go back with a little Trangia mess burner and all the rest of it. And that to me was one of the best ways I knew to self-regulate myself. I was drawn there every year. And I now look back and I know that my anxiety was getting high and I needed to recalibrate. I needed to recharge my batteries, whatever term you want to use. And those are the kind of things I look back now as an adult, as an autistic adult. I look back at those and I go, I know why. I know why I did that now. And I make sure those things, maybe not the wild camping, I've got to do it again at some point. I've got this little Walker's ice axe hanging on the wall over there yet to remind me that I once was that guy. Those were things I was drawn to because they were just ways of reducing that anxiety that I was going through, or that was all around me because I was autistic. And I now know. But in those days, it literally was, I've got to go. I've got to go on a planet. I don't drive, so it was trains and buses. And in North Wales, trains and buses in the winter are non-existent, really. And it was just, I've got to go, because I knew I had to. Otherwise, I felt like I'd explode. And now I know why. Those are things I find interesting as the hindsight. I look back as the decades that have gone by. There is no way I'm 60 next year. Yeah, I am. I look back at the decades that have gone by and go, that's why you were doing this. That's why you were doing that. And a lot of them I now rethink, I learn from, and I make sure, like that piece of music, I've got things in place. Because the minute I leave my Auti den, the minute I leave that door, I'm battered by the world that isn't built for me. And, the Autism Shows, we were talking, and I think I said that many people just see, a degree of masking, certainly professional Tigger, talky Tigger, interactive Tigger. The pull of you and your friends was so much, I came to have a drink with you. Remember? I was shattered. Yep. I was exhausted. I was really tired, but I really wanted to do it. And I really wished I could have stayed for longer, but I couldn't. I left that, and God, the food smelled gorgeous, and I went straight to bed. And most other nights on the Autism Shows and other conferences too, is most of the way, I'm normally, if I'm staying for a couple of nights, people go, oh, you went to Manchester, you went to London, you went to Birmingham, you've been to Bristol, it's been really great. And I go, no, on most nights, I'm so exhausted. I'm in bed by 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, watching something familiar on Netflix or playing my music or whatever, because I am absolutely exhausted and overwhelmed by the day I've just gone through. And people don't see that, do they? As an autistic person, they just think that you're having a whale of a time, and you're not.
I'm laughing a lot there because what you talked about is when I used to travel to schools, and you travel all over the country, and you have that day of a full day of training. You might even have to do an hour's worth of traveling between two schools, and you do all of that, and then you get to the hotel. I have dinner, and generally by 7:30, 8, I'm back in my hotel room, or I'm watching the film on my noise cancelling headphones in the restaurant, which basically to me is a silent cinema, and I'm watching a film. I know.
Yeah,
that is comforting, it's predictable, or I'm in bed at 7. I never turn the TV on because I've only got like 4 channels in a hotel to choose from, or however many. It's going to be rubbish. Whereas if I have my iPad with my films on, I have something I know which I can choose. And what you're literally going, that's exactly what I do. And that's the sort of thing I think with the neurodiversities, you learn what you like without knowing why. So you start to do these things when you're younger. You start to have kind of these routines or certain music or certain things you do, or that I used to just go and it sounds really weird. I used to go for a drive with loud music on. And in my car, that was seriously loud. I was one of those really annoying people with the bass speakers. But I generally used to do it where there was no one around. I wouldn't do it around. I would generally go off out into the country and just drive. Quite kind of intense, not stupid driving, but kind of driving with that stereo on. It was quite a sensory experience doing all of that. And you now sit there, and as you get older, you basically learn why you did all the things as you were younger, why you did that. You didn't do that because you're weird and no one else. You're actually doing it. There's actually 1 in 20, 1 in 40 people doing exactly what you're doing because they're neurodivergent, because that's what works for you. But until you start to find these other people, and until you start to listen to how do you ADHD, you're going, oh.
Well, do you know what so journey, right? So different, strange. One of the best stories I love is with my partner. And I think we're at a party, and it's early on in our relationship. And she went to somebody, have you seen Tigger? And somebody went, oh, no, but there's a guy under the piano with the dog. And that was me, right? Because that was a safe place, yeah? This beautiful dog was brilliant, fluffy, smelly, gorgeous, and wonderful. And I was under the piano feeling safe, so I didn't know loads of people. So you've got this journey. And even though I worked with autistic children, adults, for the whole of my career in Cornwall, 1987 plus, it never occurred to me that I was. Lots of people went, oh, you are. Do you get it? You're weird, you're strange, you're different. I'd go to parties, and it's like somebody would flick a switch, and I'd go, bye, I'm off, that's it. I'd reach my limit of, loud Tigger, great time, I'd just walk out. People go, oh, Tigger does that. He's not being rude, he just has enough and he goes. Doesn't say goodbye, just walks off. But so I got to my journey, and this is where the university stepped in, because I got to that moment in time. I was freelance. I was teaching about working with autistic individuals and supporting them, sensory differences, all the rest of it, blah, 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 blah. Quite a predictable journey, I think. But what I loved, realised I was autistic, and I was so, so lucky that I was then already talking to my neurokin. And to anybody that discovers they're neurodivergent, I say find your well-informed neurokin as soon as you can. And that to me is what made a difference to my mental health, my self-worth, my journey, everything. And so I meet a lot of adults at the moment, and children, but, you get diagnosed with a process that is, pathologizing and you can't do. We go for help when we're at our very lowest, so it reinforces a lot of bad stuff. Very rarely, it is changing, but very rarely do you get, right, you're autistic, you need to learn about stimming, you need to learn about masking, you need to learn about why you need your routines, you need to learn about monotropism, all the rest of it. Very rarely do you get that. And I was so lucky that the minute I realized I was autistic, somebody said to me, do you stim? And I knew about stimming, but they helped me explore it. And then the masking bit and so on and so forth. And that to me made a massive difference to my journey. I see and meet so many adults, children, who you're diagnosed, you're given a piece of paper that's out of date, you dropped like a stone, goodbye. And what makes such a difference, what made such a difference in my personal journey was the people I knew then, and still know, because they're lush, because they, for want of an old term, saved my bacon. I was so, so lucky. There was Chloe, there was David, Bobby, Marina, the friends I've got in Cornwall, so many people that have helped me and are still helped me on my journey with something it means to be autistic, that I can use all those sensory memories on the whole for my decades. And it's just put me in such a better place. I've got this website thing that I spend hours building, bit overwhelming with loads of pages of resources. There's a page on there which is read this book, go to that person. And I say to people, do your own assessment on yourself. So I did my own. This is Tigger's Autistic Tigger. And it's all on my phone. It is, what do I do? What do I like to stim? What do? What works for me? What reduces my anxiety? And on several occasions, obviously, my partner's experienced me having shutdowns, but regrettably meltdowns as well. And we did a talk. Well, I did a talk in Cardiff, a couple of weekends ago. And for the first time ever, she was there on the talk. And just organically, I went, well, what was it like? And she went, when I first knew him, because I was talking about my journey then as an autistic person. And she went, when I first knew him, if he went, he'd go for like a day and a half, 2 days, in bed, shut down, overwhelmed. We didn't know what was going on, blah, 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 blah. Now I know him. I shut down first rather than meltdown. And she knows that I need Albus oil, or I need a good coffee, or I need stuff, and that helps me get my equilibrium back, helps me, recalibrate, and that knowledge of self, I think so many newly diagnosed or self-identifying autistic adults and children don't get, and the difference that could make is huge. How many people get, your ADHD by, and they go on Google and they don't get like the people I like are Molly's ADHD and the couple that do the TikToks and how to ADHD and stuff, because they're really cool. They give me really good insight. Yeah. So many people just get a bit of paper that's out of date, and it's
But I think it's
devastating.
I think we our house was built in 1888. And as soon as you do that, you get families go, oh, God, that's going to be expensive, or that's going to... And there's these kind of statements people come out with about an old house, yeah? And you can say it's a little bit like autism, like, oh, autism, oh. And then they just come out with some pre-made sentences, which are generally often wrong. But then you go buy a book on how to maintain your really old house, and you're flicking through it going, no, haven't got any of this. Oh, actually, this is a bit, the chimney, God, the chimney. And then there'll be a whole chapter on the chimney that is really applying to you. Then you get to the next bit. Nope, we don't have any cracks. Nope. Damp. Oh, yeah, we have. And it's kind of like that. Yes, I have a book telling me how to maintain my house, but most of it is completely irrelevant. And the bits I need to find out, it covers some of it. And it is then you using that and finding your way around your own house. And I think it's the same as you get that diagnosis. This is autism. This is ADHD. Cool. Yeah, none of that really applies to me, but that one does. But what does that look like in me? What does that look like? What is it I do that is, and I'm really lucky because I do this podcast and I get to meet loads of amazing people. I'm just learning. I've learned so many things that's because you're ADHD, or that's because you're autistic, or that's because of this. I'm going, oh. And there's some things which are, and that's the thing, it's a spectrum. So some things you will have, some things I will have, some things we'll both have. We both definitely have full-on hyperfocus interests. I think that's quite a common thing. But we're all different, but it is, you can't just go to one place.
No. And I think, so I often say to people when I give examples, this is an example of autistic Tigger. This is an example of autistic Tigger. And I do that, these are people I know. I have similarities with my newer kin and I have differences. And that's the whole human race, yeah. But what I wish, as you know, I self-identify, I'm not diagnosed. So I self-identify as an autistic individual. So that came to me several years ago, though people that had known me for decades went, what, you didn't know? Yeah. We thought you knew, we didn't talk about it, and it made sense and everything. One of my best mates down here in Cornwall is a retired NHS clinician who's autistic, so I'm pretty sure he'd tell me. And my newer kin, some incredibly, to me, important people in the autistic community, autistic advocate community, just listen, talk, So that's been my diagnostic journey, is really my newer kin. But I'm in a position of privilege. I don't need to get diagnosed at the moment. I might change my mind as I'm on a journey. I work for myself, and it goes on. But I've met many people that have been through that journey, and they've been battered before they get diagnosed. They don't know. If they've met a particularly medical model-based professional whose training and history might be a bit out of date, then they're battered when they leave the process. And the difference, a neuroaffirming, a neuro-inclusive practitioner might go, you're autistic, you're an ADHD, you have differences in, you're really good at this, go and explore these really cool books by these neurodivergent individuals, take care. Whereas a lot of people get, you're autistic, you're ADHD, bye. Oh, and if you go on Google, get cured, be normal, fit in. Yeah. And that's where I am eternally grateful. We mentioned doors opening and closing. And when I realised I was already in touch with some really amazing advocates and neurodivergent individuals across the UK, because it was during the pandemic. I was so lucky then that people went, Tigger, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to go there. And that, I think, I was so, the universities were so kind to put me in that place at that time. Because otherwise, if I'd gone decades ago, it could have been a whole different, and I think quite complexly negative journey. But I still meet people who, they get dropped like a stone. And it's devastating to see the agony they go through and the self-worth issues and so on. So again, the universities were kind, and I was so lucky. I did a video on this spot, I think, in the back garden where we were living during the pandemic. As I realised I couldn't live with the family at the time, that was the thing. And I literally, Mrs. Pebbles, the whippet, who sadly passed, I sat down with her and I went, I think I'm autistic, with a cup of coffee in the back garden. And she went, yeah, you are. And I kind of thought, you know what? I am. And it was like, all of a sudden, decades of my life, everything made complete and utter sense. And the thing that troubled me at the time, would you believe, I'm a professional. I'd worked in care provision. I'd worked in early years. I'd worked in schools. I had an area at college where I worked with awesomely, autistic individuals and so on. It had never occurred to me why I loved what I did. And when I was teaching people all those years ago, this is how you work with autistic individuals. There's this difference, that difference. But I was teaching that and I go, and I understand that because bright lights. I understand that because banging doors. I understand that because of strong smells. It never occurred to me that I was autistic. And one of the major things I had when I realized I was a professional wobble. And I went, how can you be a professional who teaches and has worked with for several decades and not realize you're autistic? And then you go down the route of masking and internal ableism and all the rest of it, which again, I had to explore like mad because it is a journey. But it's, I keep saying I'm privileged to everybody. I'm very lucky. I'm already done, but I think what saved my bacon, is that a good term? I'm going to research why that is a term now, was my neurokin. That transformed my levels of anxiety and still is, which is gorgeous.
And I think the industry we work in, education, specifically special needs, and going to the autism shows, that it just means it kind of, you're really well informed anyway. Yeah, you've learned a lot about it. So, and I think I did meet someone who worked with autistic people and then got told you're autistic. And she was really shocked. And she sat there and went, why is it all right for them to be autistic and not me? And it was a really weird why and why I can't be. That was a really interesting conversation. And but for me, I got my diagnosis after starting the podcast. And I've been working within special needs for 20 years. So I'd learned all about autism. I'd learned all about masking. I run B Squared, so I shaped my life to suit me and got rid of all the things I put off to others. So I literally perfected my life to be neurodivergent friendly.
Yep.
The person who was part of the diagnosis listened to the podcast. And it was really interesting because in my head I'm going, I know what you want me to say, but I also know what I feel. Oh, God, Which one do I say?
Oh.
That was a really weird thing that you really know. You're, that's what I should do, but that's what I want to say. And that's the thing. I've for me, since my diagnosis, I've been chasing happy people. I'm trying to please people. Yeah, that's what I found. I spent a lot of my life trying to please people. Yeah, so doing things because they want me to, not necessarily because I want to. And doing things that I'm making sure because I felt like I had to fit in or to do this or to get some, whatever it is. I still don't fully know why. Some bits I've got some things, but that's a whole different thing. Not going to go into on the podcast.
Right. I'm definitely a fawner. So there's adrenaline responses. I realised I was a fawner and a funster. So I'm very much a people pleaser. And we spoke about it again in our 5 hours before we press record. About the fact that I'm still unmasking now. We talked about my clothing identity, which had really got to me during the Autism shows. And I thought, is this me? I don't know. Yeah. And your gorgeous shirts. Yeah. Because in my head, I name people your shirt man. Yeah. I remember saying I've got bicycle man and airline pilot and book woman. I never remember people's names. And if you need to go online, folks, this is a podcast, and look at the shirts. If they're online, yeah, you with your shirts and jackets on. And so that bit about identity, the bit about unmasking, I'm still doing it. And it's really weird on the journey I've been on. Very early on, when I was autistic, somebody who I'd worked with professionally over decades said to me, "You're not." I went to bed for 2 days. I was living on my own then. It destroyed me. It made me question my professional identity. It made me question my professionalism, my personal identity. And then I came out the other end, but it really, really destroyed me. And I put a post out going, you're not autistic, with my hand on my head or something. You don't look autistic, yeah? Let's be your third eye and my 7 ears, whatever it is, yeah? Because it's a bag you have with you. You're a person with autism. No, I'm not. I'm autistic. And but what I've realised is, and we mentioned that lovely coffee shop with the beautiful hi-fi system. I just remember once, about 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, I can't remember, turning around to this gentleman going, "I'm autistic, mate. Can I talk about your hi-fi setup and talk about your coffee?" And what I have found of late is I'm now wearing badges. I'm autistic on my bags. I've got the infinity symbol on jackets I wear in the winter, maybe. I've brought 3 or 4 T-shirts with, autistic on. but the fabric on them was grotesque, I have to say. I didn't like them. And one thing I want to do, because I feel I should do, because of my position of privilege and because of what I do, is I want to wear something. There was is it a Canadian girl I saw online, and she literally stood in a town with a placard, "I'm autistic, come and ask me a question." And I thought, I want to do that. I want to really be. So I did wear the sunflower lanyard, but that people, from my perspective, equate the sunflower lanyard with a learning disability. So I now have an infinity lanyard that I wear. Occasionally people have gone, "Are you autistic, mate?" I am, because they know, the imagery and so on, which is positive. But I do feel that I'm in a position of privilege. I'm in a position of security to the extent where I should be I said at the beginning, in your face autistic person, but I should be very open about who I am as me, because it is me. And that to me is part of my unmasking journey as well, is being very open to people. I'm autistic. There's a post I put out. I've been experimenting with Canva, right? Sorry, tangent 40,363. I was talking to my daughter on the phone one night and went, "Oh, I think I've got to grips with Canva. It's so much easier on the laptop." And she went, "Dad, Dad, Dad." We were texting each other. She went, "Please don't tell me you've been trying to do Canva for years on your phone." And I went, "Yeah, why?" And she went, "That's why you're finding it really hard." And I went, "Oh, thank you." So I've mastered Canva at last. And I put a post out from a real life event where I went to a charity shop, an autism charity shop somewhere in the UK, got chatting, and I said to somebody, I said, "What do you do?" "Oh, we help people. We help people go out and do things socially. We help them. We work coach and so on." I went, "Okay, that's cool, cool." And I said, "I'm autistic." And this person's response was, "But you're talking to me and you've got a job." And I thought, wow, there's a level of understanding and training that needs to change a bit, yeah? And so I am so much more open, and I'm still on that journey of unmasking, of saying to people, I'm autistic. And also, I think it's that bit about standing up for my rights and my needs. It's too loud. I can't do it. I can't go today. I'm overwhelmed. And that is something I would never have done years ago. I would have masked, then burnt, masked and burnt, or shut down. Now I'm very much, actually, no, I can't. It's too much for me. Or I can't because, or I'm really stressed. And I'm really stressed. The journey was hard. It was very loud. My noise reduction headphones ran out of battery, whatever. And then I said, I need this as autistic Tigger. And that I'm becoming much more open with. But that's taken me years to get there.
What's interesting is for those who've come into the studio and recorded a Zencast session, so I'm recording here in just a random T-shirt. I'm just comfortable in jeans and T-shirt, shorts and T-shirt. So when we do one of our Zencast sessions, and like Dr. Sarah Mosley or Louise Selby, who've been down, they come in and they turn up very, very presentable. Yes, they're on camera and they know it. So they turn up looking amazing. Yes. And they're on camera and I'm sitting there almost looking like a bum, chatting to them. And then when it comes to me being on camera for the afternoon, 5 minutes before we hit record, I will walk off round the corner and then walk back with my shirt on.
For sure.
And I have the shirt on for the recording. And then when we finish recording, the shirt comes off again. And when the last time I saw Joanna Gray, she was doing her PhD research down at Southampton. And I walked in, she went, "Oh my God, Dale, you've got your shirt on today," which really did sound like I don't generally wear something on top. The way she said it, I was like, "Can you just stop saying that, please? That's twice you've said that in public, and people look at me weird, like I generally walk around without anything on the top half." But it is, and that's the sort of thing I don't know if it's since my diagnosis or since the numbers of my age going up, but I'm just more comfortable being me. Yeah. Well, so there are times where I know this is what you have to wear and you've got to go do this and this is expected of you, and I get that. But the rest of the time I'm like, no, this is me. Deal with it.
Do you know what because I said I had a conflict of identity at the show. I looked at you. I had to get these shoes because I've got a foot injury. Yeah, you run, you climb, you cycle, and then 40 years later, your body starts to fall to pieces, right? So I've got this foot injury, which is long lasting at the moment. And I got these, I don't know what they were, Skechers or something that are really well padded. They're not me, but they're comfortable. They're not me, right? And so I had this identity of clothing. And I have to say that young lady, Joanna Grace, was one of those that has really, she's a great friend, yeah? Really helped, really supported me over the decades we've known each other. Oh my God. And when we spoke about, you wearing the shirts and me looking at, I kind of morphed into this teaching Tigger kind of mode, or Makaton guy mode, so people can see my handshakes while the top's always playing and stuff. I've been thinking since we had that conversation outside one of the autism shows, and I've thought long and hard, and I don't do it anymore. But I think the where I felt really me was in a tent with kit on. I look at outdoor kit, right? The rucksack, the boots. In my old days, it was a buffalo jacket in Ron Hills and Scarpa boots, Scarpa Mantra M4s, and a good rucksack. And that was when I really felt me. And I think I've lost the outdoors. And that's something as an autistic person, I think I need to get back because I have lost it. But I do. We were talking. I'm my most comfortable in the winter when I got my hat and my jacket and my long coats and my layers. In the summer, I am totally lost in my identity. I'm here with sandals on and shorts and a top, but I'm just doesn't feel like me. And it's so I'm on that journey still, unmasking, growing, learning. Because and again, so you have external ableism and you have internal ableism, and I think that I'm at that point where I'm still on the journey and will be for a while. I'm conforming still to what people expect, and like Joe, barefoot presenter. Because when most people, we see me now, you and I are here. I don't wear glasses when I'm on a podcast because I can't see the screen. Yeah, but I had quite a few people come up to me, which was very kind at the autism shows, and they go, "Are you Tigger?" They go, "Yeah, I don't wear the hat when I'm online. I don't wear the glasses because I can't see because I prefer not to." So sometimes you see pictures of me, and do you wear a hat? I wear a hat all the time, right? Do you know what I mean? But not when I'm in my office, so to speak. But yeah, it is. It's looking at identity, which I think is really. It's a journey. It's really important. But I totally get your shirts. I understand what they are. I have that barrier as well. I have that toolkit, that aid. Really helps me in certain situations. So there's the Comfort was one of the stands. They're brilliant. Yeah, their son designed. He designed this really gorgeous, a beautiful T-shirt with built-in poppers. So you've got a little kind of like stimming tool, kind of like built in, and that's now my teaching T-shirt. I wear it. I need to post about this. It's comfortable. It's close. The neck is really high, which I love from a sensory viewpoint. I'm always pulling my T-shirts back. And when I found that, I went, "Oh, this is great. That's now my teaching T-shirt. I won't wear it any other time than when I'm teaching. So it's part of my teaching toolkit, and that's what I recognise now. So I'm working towards. I don't know. I'm more comfortable in the winter than I am in the summer because we spoke again. I'll continue to look at the weather and go, "Oh my God, I'm going to change my gear. It's going to be like 2 degrees warmer." Oh no, because that transitional stuff as an autistic person really gets to me as well. I do love your shirts, but I've yet to find that balance.
Well, I think if we go back to what masking is simply trying to make other people happy at a cost to you. In reality, and sometimes masking is better for you. That's the sort of thing. It's not saying masking is wrong. There are times when, for me to mask, is actually better than not to mask. But overall, I'm just going. Again, I'm interested. There's a whole to me masking in age. The older you get, the less you're going to mask. You're like, I don't really care. Yeah, I've got friends. If they like me, great. If they don't, I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do I'm going to be me, and that's that. Suck it up. So you start to, I think, do more of what you want as you get older, and you just don't care. But there are times where I literally will put that mask right back on, not fully, but it'll be partly on, so that it is easier. That maybe that day is easier for me because I'm partially masking.
It's because I two greats I follow are Jodie Clark and Kieran Rose in the masking world. I've learned an awful lot from them, and they are really cool. And then that the talks of users. Another lady I follow is a PDA, Sally Cat, and she does a whole post. Again, it's a lot of this stuff it's a term contentious, and people are debating it because we're growing as a global community and rethinking. And there is not enough research done by autistic individuals. Yeah, we're actively barred from it, and so she interprets as a PDA. This is her viewpoint of masking: is that she can choose to use it as a tool in order to reduce anxiety in certain situations. If I've got it right, if I misquote, no, I apologise. And I started to explore to myself, well, do I consciously have an array of masks in front of me and plonk them on in different situations? But then the problem I've got is I remember standing in front of a mirror when I lived in Bodmin, and I looked in the mirror and I went, I don't know who you are. I don't know who you are. Because the other thing I've got, I think, with my understanding of masking for Tigger, autistic Tigger, is that when am I not masking? Because I've done it for so many decades. I've become so comfortable wearing that mask that as I'm peeling it off, I know that the more I see myself stim, the more I stim in public, the more comfortable I am with autistic Tigger. And people listening to this won't be able to see it, but you'll see it. One of my favourite stims, but one of my most challenging stims to people around me is this one. Hang on, I'll show you. I bite my tongue, I clench my jaw very tightly, and I move my mouth. The sensory feedback from that is huge. It's one of the best ways I know to reduce my anxiety. But in public, I look like I'm having some kind of seizure. Yeah, it's really quite. My partner said to me, playing with blue tack, yeah, that whoa, right? So playing with blue tack is an acceptable stim in public. It's accepted by the world, but doing what I do there and other things isn't. But I'm actually, the other day we were on the train that I'd got stuck somewhere between this gardens and Hostel. And I was supposed to go to see at school and it all went pear-shaped because this school's gorgeous. And I just sat there. Okay, I was behind a seat. People couldn't see me. But I realised I'd gone a bit further on my journey of unmasking. So I sat there and went, I'm anxious, I know what to do. And I was doing that. And somebody walked by and I just saw them stare at me. And I just thought, I'm autistic Tigger. I'm anxious. This is what I do. Yeah. And that kind of went through my head. So, and again, I say that journey of unmasking, when it started, it all started for me not with a fellow human being, but it started with a whippet called Mrs. Pebbles. And I sat there and because she used to come and visit, and I did my stimming, my rocking, my blue tap, my elbow soil, my taps, my vocalizations, my tick things, and the facial expressions. And it was, but I still look in the mirror and I go, when are you masking, mate? When are you not masking? What are we going to look at today? Because it is a journey. When you've done it for decades, it is a beautiful, I'm going to say, beautiful journey, because you're finding out who you are, which is gorgeous. But it has to be an informed journey. You have, and I feel terrible saying up-to-date autistic individuals, but you have to get people that are in the know, because there's some autistic people out there that are not as far ahead as others. And, how I quantify that, I don't know. But I'm very lucky that a lot of people I know really, really know their stuff, and I'm learning from them, which is so important for my journey.
But I think in that, putting yourself in a situation where you're kind of going to have to mask, you're masking by putting yourself in that situation, but there's a whole thing around that. So almost to being the most fully unmasked Tigger is you doing what you want to do, which shouldn't cause you to stim because you're doing what you want to do. That is in reality the most authentic Tigger. However, bringing that into the real world where you have to earn money and you have to do things, that you obviously have to do it your way.
I think because I work with, I work all over the place. I'm really lucky. I'm really fortunate. And, the Autism Shows, that my last slide was, I need you to know that this is a really difficult day for me. I'm overwhelmed. I'm stressed. So I was saying to people, my last slide was, as an autistic person, you need to know that I'm up upon this stage, but what you're seeing is somebody that's coping with the pressure of the outside world at this moment in time. I am tired. I am stressed. I've already gone to the toilet 8 times and just locked myself in and put my headphones on and just cut myself away from everything to recalibrate and so on and so forth. And I will be, I said it out loud, I will be in the hotel room watching my favourite movies or favourite music by 7 o'clock, because I am autistically shattered for the environments I'm in. And that happens at every conference I go to, everywhere I go to. And I think that I'm now on my journey becoming much more open, because otherwise people see high-functioning Asperger's Tigger. Yeah, we know they're really old, right? But that's what people see, because that's the terms that are still out there, regrettably. What I have to do in my position of privilege, if that's the right thing to say, is I have to, while I can still, is I have to say to people, I have to show them, I think to become a proper teaching tool, if that's the term, I have to be, and I'm trying to do it more, I have to take off the mask when I'm teaching people. So monotropic flow. I was teaching a parent carers course in Cornwall, and somebody had a bottle of dandelion and burdock, if you remember that. And I just went, oh my God. And I spoke about it, and I lifted it, and I smelt it, and let me taste a bit. And I went, this is monotropic flow. All I want to talk about now is that and my history and smell it. I don't want to teach. I'm drawn on a train track to that. This is what I want to talk about. Yeah. That the hyper focus. I love monotropism. It's brilliant if I say it properly. And then the other things are, I did a talk to some counsellors about what it's like to be autistic, and that run-of-the-mill, a lot of methods designed to help people with their mental health are designed by neurotypicals. For neurotypicals, we haven't got enough designed for neurodivergent individuals. And I said to her about my grieving process with a dog. And, and that I work with people who grieve years after the events have happened, yeah? So when Mrs. Pebbles died, I'd said to my partner, this could be really bad for me. I might have to go away. She was such an important person in my life, blah, 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 blah. And then on the day it happened, I was over the moon. She passed beautifully. I got to stare into her eyes. It was one of the most beautiful things that's ever happened to me. I loved it. Everybody else was crying. I was like, oh, this was one of the best days of my life. And then a year later, I came in here to work. There's her coats, her jumpers. When she got older, on the wall there, and I just broke, and I spent 2 days in bed. And I spoke to these people saying, and I just started to cry. And I went, this is me. People will say, you're autistic. It was just a dog, and it's over a year ago. And I went, as an autistic person, I am still so affected by the last meltdown I had, which was in Cuba. And by this. And I think one of the things I have to do now, God, we got really deep here, haven't we? One of the things I have to do now is take my mask off in public and say to people, you see this aspect of Tigger, that's professional Tigger kind of masking. This is a person who had a meltdown in, I think it's December the 13th at 2:00 in the morning in Cuba, in a hotel room, thankfully. And I can tell you now, I can still feel that, and I'm still getting over it. And I think, and also the other day, what was it? An alarm went off. Unexpected, yes. So completely out of routine, loud noise, frightened me incredibly. And I said to the people I was teaching, I'd normally carry on now. I'm not anymore. I said, I'm so frightened. I'm so scared. It was an alarm set off in error because we were told there was no fire test. I said, I had a difficult bus journey here, so my anxiety was high anyway. So I said, as autistic Tigger, I need to stop for 10 minutes. I need to go outside. I'm just going to put my earbud in and listen to something. I said, but I am in a state of anxiety and I cannot carry on teaching. And that's what I've started doing now, which I think is authentic, autistic Tigger, just autistic Tigger's responses, yeah? And I think that's now, as I'm heading towards 60, that's now becoming part of what I do. So I use real life now, I think. So like that event, I like the talking to these wonderful counsellors at Dartmoor Zoo, which was amazing. Meerkats, they're incredible. I have to be me. And if something happens, I go, here you go. And I started exploring that a bit, I think, at the Autism Shows, when at the end of the days, I just went, I am shattered, I am tired, I am stressed. I just want to go to bed now. And yet you see somebody on a stage doing X, Y, and Z. But the reality of being autistic is this. And I think we've got really deep there. That's something I've got to do, because otherwise I'm not being authentic. Cool.
But that's the thing, is you can read a book, you can do all this stuff, but here's a bloke standing on a stage, autistic, he seems to be doing great. No, you kind of need to raise that awareness. And that's kind of, there's autistic pride of I can do this, and there's autistic pride of this is me, this is the cost, this is what it looks like. And it's two different ways of being proud. One is battling through because I can. The other one is going, yeah, I'll do this, but yeah, this is me as well. And it is kind of being that vulnerable person, admitting that this takes a lot out of me. It's worth doing, which is why I'm here. But kind of, this is the downside.
And I think it is, the media will tell you, the good doctor, atypical, all the rest of it. You get a white cis male with hair who's professional in some way. That's what the media gives us on the whole. There are some people of colour and gender out there, but not enough. And a lot of professionals, because of where they are on their journey as professionals, so I'm becoming more open, I think, and just have done it now, which I wasn't expecting to go here, but that's the joy of talking to you, was the bit about where I have to go down those routes now, because otherwise, am I really, if I'm, understanding the autistic individual, I try and, if something happens on the training session, I use it. Like I did in Cardiff and so on, I use it. And I think now, and it's working for me. I think it's working for me for my style of presenting, but also I think you're right. It's another way of being autistic pride. It's a great day. And I think, it's another way of helping people understand, because what you read on an NHS page, what you read from some organisations, what you see on the media is not a true representation of what it means to be neurodivergent. And that is what the majority of the public see. And it's devastatingly out of date and devastatingly pathologizing medical model. It's all our fault. And I could go on for decades on that and won't. The damage that does is huge. Huge.
No, I'm going to wrap that up because what you just started on there is the next podcast we're going to be recording shortly, but will come out a few weeks after this. But that is exactly the next topic. So I'm going to wrap it up before we dive into that. So thank you for coming on the show today, Tigger. I've always enjoyed it. I always enjoyed our chats because every single chat has never ended where it started, ever.
You became my constant at 3 Autism Shows, yeah? Which to me, again, is important. Oh, I know you. Oh, shirt. Oh, great. Oh, talk. Oh, my God, tangents. And it became a neuro kit I used. You were, and others were at those shows, other people I met, became neuro kits to reduce my anxiety because you were safe. You were familiar. We got on really well. And in the chaos that was going on around me, it was like, oh, shirt man. Yeah, and it was brilliant. Thank you for that.
You say I reduced your anxiety, but I then did mention your chest hair.
You did. We're going to talk about that one. That's terrible. And my voice has gone up. It was, because again, I don't take things literally. Loads of people tell you that I don't. And it was like I'd t-shirt, shirt. Did I have this on, this blue top? I'm going for a blue sweat top.
I think so.
Right? And it was just, and I went, oh yeah, well, I've got the hair's gone, but on my head, but everywhere else I'm a hairy guy. And you made that joke about hair sticking out. Well, oh my God, they aren't they? And I think I was on with like 2 minutes to go. And I checked, and I said, I put it into my presentation. I went, oh, taking things literally. You said your chest hairs are sticking out as a joke. I went, oh my God, they're not, are they? And checked. And it was just brilliant.
I can't help it. Part of me head says, he said this, let's have a bit of fun. And my head always does it. And you can ask generally everyone. My head just says, say it. Go on. Just give me a little bit of worry. And I was thinking, everyone in the office, if I come up with some random fact, which is really random, people were looking at me and they're waiting for the punchline. They're waiting for it. And it's really great because when I say these things, everyone's going, is he joking? Is he serious? They're never quite sure. They're just on this, I'm not finding this funny. Is this a funny thing? Is it real? They can't work it out, which means when I say the joke, they're not expecting the joke. It's great. I just enjoy life, I just can't help it.
Yeah, it was the Autism Shows that bit seemed familiar people to me. Really made a difference to my anxiety levels. But that one did make me check very quickly to make sure no hairs were popping out the top of his wet top. Have we got off on a tangent again? When we supposed to be closing this down for the next one? Sorry,
I was supposed to be wrapping it up. So Tigger's given me some links. So links to Facebook groups, his website. You can read all about him and all the stuff he's mentioned. He mentioned his website in the show, and also how you can get hold of Tigger. And you'll find those, as always, in the show notes. So wherever you listen to the podcast, you'll find them, or you can go to the Zencast website and you'll find them there. Thank you for listening to the show. If you haven't subscribed already, click on that subscribe button. You can follow us on various social medias, on Twitter at The Zencast, on Facebook, The Zencast, and on Instagram, The Zencast. And we're even looking at TikTok now, which I'm still learning about. And if you're struggling to show progress, if your assessment process is overcomplicated, takes too long, or you just want to see what is available, have a look at the B Squared website or book a free online meeting with me so I can take you through our products. We have a range of assessment products to help all schools show small steps of progress for pupils with SEND. And if you're a primary school in England who want to use one assessment system for all pupils, instead of one for your SEND and one for your pupils working at age-related expectations, get in contact. You can also find out about our online training, our conference, all the stuff we do, our blog, watching our webinars. It's all on the B Squared website. And you'll find a link to the website and to book a meeting with me in the show notes. So thank you for listening. We'll be back next week with another episode of the Zencast. It is goodbye from me.
Woohoo! And it's goodbye from me too. Bye.
Bye.